Back to Popcornrest ready stories, where every story is a mirror that everyone desperately needed but wasn't ready to look into. Now, before you think today's episode is going to be a simple guide bad girl good story, I want to remiss you. It's more complicated than that. There are two people in this story. One of them is learning something. The other one already learned it from a hard way. This is a story about what happened when I'm sorry stopped being enough, when the apology cycle finally breaks, and what it actually takes not to get someone back, but to become someone's worth coming back to. Let's read it.
The post is titled, I know I messed up, but I genuinely changed in the past week and a half. She won't even let me explain. How do I get through to her? I know how this sounds. I know. But please just hear me out before you jump to conclusions. Background, not my girlfriend. Ex-girlfriend now, I guess, and I were together for almost 2 years. She's 19. I'm 20. We had a good thing going for most of it, but I'll be honest, I have a temper. I know that. When we'd get into arguments, I would lose it sometimes, raise my voice, say things I didn't mean, occasionally say things that were pretty bad. I'm not proud of it, but I always apologized. Every single time. And I meant it every single time. The pattern, I guess, was something would set me off. I'd blow up. I'd feel terrible immediately after. I'd apologize. I'd promise it wouldn't happen again. Things would be good for a while, and then it would happen again. I see that now. I really do. I don't want to make it sound worse than it was. We had really good times, too. She used to say I was the most thoughtful person she'd ever dated when things were good. I'd plan things for her, remember the little details she mentioned in passing, show up when she needed me. I loved her genuinely. I still do, but the arguments, they escalated over time. What started as raised voices became him saying things I really, truly regret. Things I can't take back. I know she's sitting somewhere right now still hearing those words, and that makes me sick. She ended things about a week and a half ago. Said she couldn't keep doing this, that she was exhausted, that she didn't feel safe. Those words, didn't feel safe, hit me harder than anything else she's ever said to me. I didn't sleep for 2 days, and that's when something shifted for me. I'm serious. I spent the last 10 days really sitting with myself. I've been researching anger management. I watched videos. I read articles. I even found this technique where you pause for 3 seconds before you respond when you feel your emotions rising. 3 seconds. I practiced it every day. I tested it on little things, traffic, slow internet, stuff at work. And it works. I feel like a genuinely different person. I sent her some messages explaining all of this, long ones. I wanted her to understand the specific things I've identified about myself and the specific steps I'm taking. She read them. I can see the read receipts. But she hasn't responded. I'm supposed to see her tonight to pick up some of my stuff. I want to use that as an opportunity to really talk. I know if she just looked me in the eyes, she would see I'm not the same person who hurt her. I can feel it. How do I get through to her? I can't let this end like this. I feel like I'm suffocating.
Okay, we need to stop here because there's so much happening in the post that I want to unpack carefully before we move forward. Let me say something general first because I think it matters. The first step, Alpi can name the cycle. Arguments, explosions, apologies, repeats, enough, nothing. A lot of people are their entire life without being able to articulate the parent why they're still inside it. The shame he is describing is real. The siblings' knives are real. The chain and laughing feels, I believe that too. But here's my problem, and it's a big one. You cannot renovate a house that burned down and call it fixed in 10 days. You cannot spend 1.5 years making someone feel unsafe, 1.5 years of yelling up words they can't unhear, and then send a long message about your 3-second fragment technique and expect that to land a reassurance. Does it not repair? Does it of presentations? And there is a massive, critical difference between the two. Look at what Opie is focused on throughout this entire post. His research, his videos, his technique, his messages, his feelings of suffocations, his clarity, his realizations. He changed self. He used the word I so many times in this poll that at one point it justly lost count. At no point does he stop and ask, what is the C feeling right now? As Snowborn does exist with the fact that she is not silenced because he doesn't understand it. She is silenced because he has finally found some quiet. And his long read recipient messages are landing in his inbox at the same ways he has been caring for 2 years, just read differently. The 3-second pause, legitimately useful skill. I'm not being sarcastic, but skills do not reveal stress, time does. Demonstrates consistency over months, not days, does. And the fact that OP is already calculating how to use logistic hand up as an opportunity for a real conversations. Tell me the post a 3-second long. But the impulse is exactly the same it's always was. He wants what he wants, and he wants it tonight.
Additional info from OP Edit. I want to clarify a few things because some of the responses are being really harsh and I think people are missing some context. I'm not just doing online videos. I also bought the books on emotional regulation that arrived yesterday, and I've already started the first chapter of the first one. I am genuinely taking this seriously. Not just saying I am now also. I know people keep saying to give her space, but what they don't understand is that what we had was not a normal relationship. We had a connection that most people never experience. I genuinely believe we were meant to be together. And I don't think it's right to just let something this real die because of mistakes I've already acknowledged and am actively in the process of correcting. I'm not asking her to forget everything. I'm just asking for 30 minutes. Just 30 minutes for her to hear me out in person. If she still wants nothing to do with me after that, I'll respect it. Is that so much to ask? Is that so much to ask? He bought the books yesterday. He's read 1 chapter. He wants 30 minutes tonight. And he is still framing her decision as an obstacle standing between him and something he deserves. Rather than a choice she has made and has every right to keep making, I want you to notice something about that edit. Every sentence is structured as a justification. Every paragraph is building toward the same conclusion. I should get what I want. The books are evidence. The rarity of their connection is evidence. The 30-minute request is framed as reasonable. As if reasonableness is the metric she owes him, the books are good. The research is genuinely useful. The 3-second technique could change his life if he actually practices it consistently for years, not days. But in this moment, every single tool he's picking up is being deployed in service of the same goal, getting her back on his timeline. That is not change. That is the same engine running on cleaner fuel.
So, I would tell him bluntly, do not turn the pickup into a conversation. Go in, get your stop, and leave. Lest the bawling says me something. Prove the chance if real, but not needing it to be witnessed. OP relied to several comments, saying he understood. He heard them. He appreciated the propay-stuff. And then he went to pick up his stuff that evening. And, in his own words, took the opportunity to have an honest conversation. The upeth came in around midnight. He said he needed to tie it down because he didn't know what else to do with what he was feeling.
Update 1. What actually happened? I went. I know some of you said not to, but I had to try. I had to. She was calm when she opened the door. Way calmer than I expected, which, honestly, made it harder, not easier. There was no anger in her face. Just something quieter than that. I started talking through everything I had prepared, the things I'd identified, the changes I was making, the techniques I'd been practicing. I felt like I was getting somewhere at first. And then she reached into her bag and handed me a piece of paper. It was a list. Her handwriting. Every single time I had promised it was the last time. 11 entries, dates, specific incidents. The words I had used. Some of them I remembered immediately when I read them. Some I had genuinely forgotten. And standing there holding that paper, I understood for the first time that my forgetting, had been part of what allowed me to keep doing it. I moved on quickly. She didn't get to. I didn't know what to say. I just stood there holding it. Then she told me she had been seeing a therapist. Not recently. She started 2 months ago, while we were still together. She went every week. She said she was working through, in her words, a fear response she had developed around raised voices, that she flinches now when she hears someone raise their voice. Even on TV, she flinches. Because of me. 2 months of weekly therapy. While we were still together, I asked her if there was anything I could do. She looked at me for a second and then said, "Yeah, leave when you said you were going to leave." So I left. I've been sitting in my car outside my apartment for almost an hour now. I'm not crying. I just feel very still and very empty. I don't have anything smart to say. I just needed to write it somewhere. I think I finally understand what I actually did. That list. 11 times. With dates and specific words. She wasn't building a case against him. She wrote that list so that she wouldn't talk herself back into something that had already hurt her 11 documented times. That list existed before he ever showed up. He just happened to be there when she finally had a reason to take it out. And the therapy. 2 months. While they were still together. She was already in the process of healing from him while she was still with him. Let that land for a second. Now he knows exactly what that sentence weighs.
So the OP went quiet after that? No more posts, no more edits. The comment section kept moving. Some people were sympathetic. Most were still skeptical. A few said they hoped he was okay. Others pointed out that going quiet after a wake-up call is actually the right move, and they believed the chance swung and only when he saw this in behavior over time. About a month later, no announcement, no build-up, a new update appears on his profile. Shock? Just a few paragraphs, but different in tone from everything that came before it.
Update 2, the actual shift. I said I'd post an update if anything changed. Something has. Just not what I thought it would be when I first came here. I haven't contacted her. Not once since that night. I want to be honest about how hard that was, the first 2 weeks especially. I'd pick up my phone at 11 p.m. and put it back down. Sometimes multiple times in the same night. I'd start typing and then delete it. Over and over. But I kept not sending anything. Because I finally understood something I couldn't see before. Every message I sent was me asking her to manage my emotions for me. To reassure me. To tell me I wasn't a bad person. She had been doing that. Managing the aftermath of my outbursts. Absorbing my apologies. Carrying the weight of my guilt. For almost 2 years. And then she left. And I immediately started asking her to do it again. Just from a distance. That's what those long messages were. That's what the 30 minutes was about. She was done. And she had every right to be done. I found a real therapist. Not a YouTube channel. Not a self-help book. An actual licensed person that I sit across from every week. It is uncomfortable in a way I was not prepared for. He doesn't let me off the hook. He keeps asking me questions I don't have clean answers to yet. Questions about where the anger comes from. Questions about what I was actually afraid of in those moments. I didn't think I was afraid of anything. Turns out I was afraid of a lot. I deleted Instagram. Not as a gesture. She doesn't follow me anymore anyway. I deleted it because I realized I had been using mutual friends' stories to track the shape of her life. Checking to see if she looked okay. Checking to see if she looked okay. That was its own version of not letting go, and I needed to stop. I don't know who I'm going to be on the other side of this. I don't know if I'll be someone she'd ever want anything to do with again, and I've stopped making that the point. The point is becoming someone I can live with. I'm not a good update, but I think I'm a real one. I'm not a good update, but I think I'm a real one. That's the first sentence in this entire thread where he wasn't asking for anything from anybody. No audience. No read receipts. No 30-minute request. Just a person sitting with what he actually did and deciding slowly, imperfectly, to do something about it for reasons that have nothing to do with getting her back. That is not the end of the story. That's barely the beginning of it. But it is a different starting point than where he was 10 days into a breakup, sending long messages and planning a conversation over a stuff pickup.
So here's what I want to leave you with. We talk a lot on these channels about people getting what they deserve, and sometimes the consequences are romantic. A GPS tracker on a dog fast, it just calling someone is terrible human being in open court, a family that restructures itself entirely. The kind of consequences that make for a satisfying story. Most of the time, consequences are quieter than that. Subterm, they are on 11-item list on a piece of paper, a flinch at the TV. A girl who started terrified 2 months before she was brave enough to walk out the door. Those are consequences too. They just don't make noise. And here's the thing about Obi's story that I keep coming back to, he didn't get her back. He didn't get the 30 minutes. He didn't get the absolution he drove over there looking for. He got a piece of paper, an assistant about leaving on time, and he went and sat in his car, and he actually finally heard it. That's enough, nothing. Real chin doesn't need an audience. It doesn't announce itself in a long message or a book that arrived yesterday. It show up in the phone you put down at 11 p.m., the therapist you actually call, the Instagram you delete not as a statement, but because you know, honestly, that you were using it to hunt down. I'll be her someone that is true, and if it remains true regardless of what he does next. See if the better for 2 years and she finally chose herself. That matters most. But somewhere in the tear up his office, a 20 years so if being asked questions he doesn't have clean answers to yet. He stays staying in the room anyway. Don't wait until your burn is on down to learn how to hone a flame. And don't ask the person you burned to stand there and verify that you shined. And that's our story today. I'll be your horse at Pop Concerts for these stories. If this one hit differently, drop it in the comments. I read every single one. Hit subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.